And here's why I think this is absolutely necessary. Number one, the case law supports the claims. Like, I get that there are arguments that the case law does not, that the case law should be, that the new court, that this court would change that case law or overrule some of it or modify it. I get that argument, but the case law supports the claims. That's where, when you're talking about the teeter-totter, that's where we are. Number two, I think the evidence supports the claims. Now, the difference between, and I feel like we're quite colored, and we might be colored a bit by Mar-a-Lago, because when you read the Mar-a-Lago indictment, the thing about the Mar-a-Lago indictment is it didn't even read like a summary, Sarah. It just basically read like, it read like something you would just, jury, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, allow me to read from this following short document. I rest my case. Now, that's, of course, not the way it would work, but it was so strong. You know, you had the Ty Cobb statement that this is overwhelming, which, you know, Ty Cobb is not an anti-Trumper, right? So you had this overwhelmingly powerful indictment. But this one actually, in my mind, you had the case law that supports it. I believe you have the facts that support it. But to say that you have the facts that support it doesn't mean that Trump doesn't have defenses. And that's what makes this much more difficult. But here's the other side of that coin. To me, what's really important here is, look, there have been millions upon millions of Americans who, and I run into them I run into them all the time. People who say the election was stolen. The election was stolen. And why was the election stolen? Why do you believe the election was stolen? And unless somebody is like one of these super online people, they don't actually articulate it. They can't articulate it. They don't know why. And one of the things I think that this trial can conceivably do is at least strip away any pretense through an actual legal process with cross-examination, where you can't say that this is like the January 6th committee where there weren't, quote, real Republicans, as Trump's defenders would say, on the committee. It strips away all that because you have Trump's full ability to launch a frontal attack against these charges, including a frontal attack based on what he says he believed and why. And I think that this could be a very clarifying moment for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, that percentage of people who are actually persuadable on this. Because one of the things that we can't underestimate is how this will play out day by day by day, with each new witness coming forward and that testimony being reported into the public record, when the eyes of the public are going to be on this in a way that they were never once on the January 6th committee. This is the trial of the new century. And I'm with you, Sarah, on all of the problem and how this country, I mean, gosh, you could collect in Slack, folks were collecting some of these unbelievably over the top statements. Like one person, a very famous podcaster tweeted out, you are in a civil war. Another MAGA personality tweets out, the Department of Justice is a domestic terror organization, and this country will not be a free country until it is defunded and dismantled in its entirety. And so you're getting all of that. And I absolutely agree with you that this is going to be dangerous. But you know who made this thing dangerous? It's freaking Donald Trump. And I don't think he gets the benefit of the doubt of the fire that he started. Because, and I'll say of all, I wrote a piece for the Times last week. Man, everything's blurring together, Sarah, where I talked about, of the American legal/political institutions, the justice system has really shined during this entire Trump Stop the Steal effort. It was put under immense pressure, and it's the branch of American government that has really shined. And it shined in the Trump stuff, but it's also been shining in a lot of these other really, really contentious public issues. And so we have handed to juries we have the George Floyd prosecutions, the Ahmaud Arbery prosecution, Kyle Rittenhouse case. So, and this is not where juries convicted all the time. I mean, they acquitted Kyle Rittenhouse, and I thought appropriately, and they convicted these other defendants, I thought appropriately. But the jury system has actually, and we can point to circumstances and places where juries have, I think made wrong calls. It's a human institution. Our jury system is not perfect. But what is interesting to me, Sarah, over the course of my career, it's actually rare that I have encountered a judge who's really actually cynical about juries. Almost every judge that I've talked to about juries is actually refreshingly almost idealistic about it in an interesting way. And so I do think that if we're going to hand this issue over to an American institution, we are handing this over to our highest functioning institution and one of our most, as you point out, this jury of our peers notion, an institution that we literally cannot have our constitutional republic without.